Well, folks, after a little bit of a delay, Aristo is here with me, and he has a title that's really interesting, The Mystery of Existential Parallax. And parallax is not one of my vocabulary words, so I'm going to let him describe what that means. Aristo?
Okay. Well, thank you, Ron, and thank all of you. I decided to give you a classical Aristo title that is a little more in-depth. My premise for these talks here has always been food for thought, no matter what, and whatever your conclusions are, whether you like it or whether you don't like it, food for thought might be difficult to digest sometimes, but often it is more nourishing than you think. It is my honest opinion that people are very comfortable amidst the many stresses of life. We try to compensate and find comfort in simplicity. And that's all well and good. I believe living naturally and simply is a good thing. But mentally speaking, we don't have to complicate things, but we can go deeper in our conceptions. And when we do, we might discover things that help us not cope, but actually address and confront issues that have us otherwise running around in circles, like debates about philosophies and racisms and thisisms and thatisms, and where we resort to simplistic morality like black and white, where the world is not really black and white. We would like it to be, and we try to make it. We not only create suffering that way, or encourage it, but we can be manipulated to do far worse than would have normally happened with, because the thing is, if we don't have in the world agents, for whatever reason, psychopaths who have their own agendas, whether in our private lives and now it's encouraged in our private lives, there are many people who have learned through the internet and everything to just act psychopathically. Many people have learned neurolinguistic programming, manipulate others psychologically, and gotten into it and gotten away with it. Maybe the system supports them somehow. Heartlessness is rewarded. Everybody on the internet I've seen who wants to promote themselves, the big thing these days is being genuine. But people really don't like genuine because genuine is imperfect. They like a certain genuine looking package that's convincing, only they're getting wise to the lies of, the people's hypocrisy. So they don't like it. So they want more genuine looking, but real genuine disturbs us because it makes us confront our own reality, our own sense of being. It's a mirror. And if we're avoiding ourselves, I think we really avoid genuine, but we want a genuine that sounds good, that's pleasing, that's also disturbing, but in a way that's acceptable. Again, maybe this is subconscious, but there's a certain avoidance of stress, and that's a natural thing. So, but if you have factors out there, if you have social engineering going on, which I believe we do, things are not just, people go under, the free market and blah, 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 or idiot politicians. These are the narratives that we're taught to believe. But let's get even more simple than that, but not simplistic. Let's get even more simple. We are living in stressful times, and our stress can manipulate us into seeking avoidance or compensation or relief in areas that are made available. And so we think in ways that are more relaxing to us temporarily, but we are encouraged to think that way. It's like if I want to write a novel, there are so many tutorials on how to write. And you say at the surface, they're well-meaning, but these are very, very generic. Talent doesn't express itself that way. It comes out through that, maybe. But if everybody's becoming a cookie-cutter author, acceptable, all of a sudden the writing style is more simplistic.
And boring.
And maybe boring. It's almost like a writing style that's good. You can make screenplays out of it easily. So maybe your book is going to be the next great movie that's going to make you a millionaire. You see, it seems to me to be like that. So life presents itself in a way where we are herded, for better or worse. our ideologies, everything. And then some people go, well, then it's hopeless. Then fucking, well, that's another one of those socially engineered responses. If you sit around saying it's hopeless, forget it. And in a society where the people who control things more or less have a desire to reduce the population, then you're doing them a favor. Getting depressed is doing them a favor. Being weak is doing them. It justifies their isms, their exclusivism.
And by the way, what does parallax mean?
I'm getting to that.
Okay.
This isn't even an introduction. I want to express why parallax is important. And let me just read off the internet, because people these days want, explanations that are verified. This is from Google and parallax, the noun, the effect whereby the position or direction of an object appears to differ when viewed from different positions. In other words, through the viewfinder and the lens of a camera. The angular amount of parallax in a particular case has to do with stars and stuff like that. In essence, remember, when an artist wants to paint, don't they close one eye and stick their thumb out like this? Well, if you close the other eye, don't you see the thumb shift a little bit? If you do this and you look at it with one eye, you close the other one, the thumb looks like it's moved because you're actually looking at it from one eye has this angle, the other eye has that angle. You actually have two eyes to give you three-dimensional stereoscopic vision. Otherwise, we just have one big eye. If nature is economical, it's like a cyclops. Yeah, exactly. We would have one big eye and we could see everything, but we don't. We have two eyes because nature has said, look, reality is three-dimensional, not two-dimensional, at least space is. So I get to look at this direction with one eye, and it goes into the side of my brain. I get to see in this direction, and the two images merge, but they're slightly apart. So I have a composite image, because my retina is two-dimensional. How do I construct a three-dimensional world? But by parallax. Parallax means a different viewpoint. It's very simple. It's the other view. So all you have to do is just change the angle, and you're still seeing the same object. You only change your relationship to that object in terms of distance and angle and, where you are in relation to it. So we still face the same reality, but sometimes if we change our viewpoint of this same reality, we find that where we couldn't see a doorway before, all of a sudden there is one. It's not about hope. Actually, hope is very, very important. But in this case, hope has been used against us. So we can, okay, hope's used against me, so I really need to put hope aside right now and become realistic. But realism is often interpreted as pessimism, nihilism, everything is random and meaningless. I'm a realist. I don't believe in deity or creators or whatever. It's like it has nothing to do with that. Realism is what you experience, illusion or not, like you say. It doesn't matter if it's an illusion. If it's an illusion, somebody is manipulating, and your experience, your natural experience is the reality and it's being distorted, then that's the illusion you need to break.
Well, they're creating reaction. It's again, problem, reaction, solution. That's how, it seems to me, that is how the elite operate, so-called elite.
Again, let's look at parallax here. You just gave me an opportunity because you say they are creating reactions. Creating reactions means that they're forging this thing called a reaction, and it happens. We are the ones who create the reaction. We react. They don't react. All they do is present a pathway for us to follow, and that pathway is what we call a reaction. Problem, reaction, solution. You see, we're dancing. It takes two to tango. We're tangoing with them. They give out the problems. We react. They present a solution. If we don't react like they want us to react, they can't present a solution.
So or at least not the solution that they wanted.
Exactly. So what are they going to do? They're either going to throw the same problem in your face until you break, or unless you can dance around the problem, because the problem is not always what it's presented to be. There's misinformation. We know that. There's disinformation. See, the thing is, if I go and tell you, okay, what's your view about it? What is the truth? You know, then there's going to be a million people who disagree with me, and I can't prove anybody. What's my proof? If I had proof, I'd be killed. You know, let's put it that way. If I was convincing, if little old one person could be, that's it. That's not the way you go about things. You don't, you know, it's everybody's responsibility to figure out what the truth is. And it's not that hard because you are the master of your experience in the end, not anybody else. They create a problem and you react to it. Now, if you can step aside from the problem and look at it from another viewpoint, you see, for the reaction to be the predictable thing, you have to be hit by the problem at the angle that they choose. They calculate the problem to affect you a certain way. So if you shift over your viewpoint a little bit, let's put it this way. Okay, somebody goes, oh, look, the president is going here and he's doing this, and oh, these people, like 5G, for example. Let me forget about the politics here because that has a whole lot of other things. But we have this problem called 5G. They want to create an internet of everything. They want to basically put these really powerful antennas that are going to scramble our brains, all in the name of better technology. Okay, fine. Terrible. But they're using the same technology. So if there is this 5G thing, you know, they're going to be scrambling their own brains. They're not going to be wearing tinfoil hats. There's no pill you can take against this stuff. Or are they just going to be walking around with shields? How many people are going to be doing that? Isn't that going to be obvious at some point? And somebody will reproduce the damn things. You know, there's no logic to the fact that they're spreading 5G that's toxic to everybody all over the world and getting themselves blasted by it. Unless you go so far down the conspiracy rabbit hole that you say, well, the real elites are down in the hollow earth or on the other side of the flat earth, and these are just their clones who are being zapped and they're being replaced every 3 days because they melt down from the toxins, you know, or maybe they're on another planet. You know, these things are like redundant because there's too much trouble. If they could do all of this, they could just replace us, you know, with clones or whatever the hell.
How much of what they say is actual true or just a mind program where they're, again, trying to create a reaction that they want?
Exactly. Now, the thing is, you're watching movies day in and day out. People watch the media. People listen. They're exposed. You look at CNN, at least the American, and all the other news outlets. They got little teletypes. So you got this information, that information. You are constantly being bombarded. I don't call it programming. Programming is basically when you're a blank slate and written upon. You are being stimulated. However, we are not read, write, DVD, things. We don't just go blank and then get rewritten. That's heavy MK Ultra shit. That's stuff that's heavy trauma programming, and you basically go insane and you damage goods after that. I mean, you are unsustainable in those scenarios, or altering your DNA, or I don't know what. I'm talking about a simple shift over the problem. So with the 5G, all you have to do is just say, well, this is bullshit. You know, maybe they're trying to stick certain antennas and that are toxic in some neighborhoods where the poorer people live and start blasting them and controlling them because they really haven't mastered the mind control yet like they want to, and they don't want to go ahead with the calling until they master it. Because the more population you have, the more experimental subjects, the more statistically viable all of their trials are going to be. And that's what I would do. So you can't change your perspective. You can't say, what if I was a psychopath? What would I do? What if I had no feelings? Oh, but I do have feelings. Well, not always. I mean, on a bad day, I get pissed off. And then I turn cold, or people can piss me off, and I'll just turn cold on some people if they try to hurt me emotionally, you know, and I remember what that's like, or, you know, through some kind of trauma. I have a memory. I don't have to relive the experience. I have an imagination. It's not going to hurt me to get in the head of a psychopath. It's not going to hurt me to get in the head of a sadist. I don't have to be a sadist. You know, I just have to see, okay, this person likes doing that. What would I strategize to do that? You know, that's one of the existential parallax goes even deeper, because you go, what if I was a strong person? You know, what does strength really mean? What does power really mean? Does it mean pressing buttons and having shit happen? Does it mean having a voice to some higher deus ex machina, some divine helper, you know, whatever, if there was a, you know, that's going to come and save the day? In my experience, to turn into that topic a little bit, instead of looking at things religiously, which to me is a simplistic need for a higher parent, you know, and, you know, so eventually you'll face it and you get over it. That's why sometimes I don't respect atheists. I don't even respect agnostics in the way I believe those are honorable temporary ideologies, because the atheists, you basically, look, man, you can't really conclude this extreme, just like the deists can't really conclude unless you have some experience to back it up. Do you have an experience that there is no God? No, you don't have an experience that there is one either, so you don't know. But eventually you're going to have to pick some kind of conviction. I don't know leaves you in a way, unless it's temporary and constantly shifting and you're constantly moving around in the way you're bombarded with information and stuff, that you don't just say, well, I don't know, and it becomes an excuse to not do anything. You know, it's fine. It can be liberating. But sitting on the fence is not liberating. Convictions are something that are good. It's not bad to have a conviction, and convictions are not opinions. There's more invested in a conviction than there is in an opinion. People don't overcome obstacles through opinions. They don't climb mountains from an opinion. They have a conviction. They go, I want to get to the top, whatever, for whatever reason, just because it's there. Or I'm fighting this fight for whatever reason, because I believe it's worth fighting for, or I believe this is worth pursuing, or I believe, you know, I'm not giving up. Because I keep hearing about this, people who are, I'm going to die. Well, you know, whatever, man, you know, so die. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. Okay, can you live in a world where nobody feels sorry for you if you're down in the dumps? If nobody, it's not that nobody cares, but they've got their shit to deal with. They can't care. You can only care so much. Everybody's coming out and begging for pity, begging for love, begging for affection, for recognition. Sorry, nobody likes a beggar. And it's not about being cruel. It's about saying, do you really practice the golden rule in that sense? Parallax. The golden rule is a rule of parallax. Put yourself in the position of the other person. Change your viewpoint. The golden rule is a fundamental of existential parallax. You put yourself in somebody's position so your relationship with your own actions changes. That's a very, very fundamental thing. This is the food for thought. You know, why existential parallax? Well, when you put yourself in the position of another, you see, you don't have to be empathic and feel depressed and whatever, you know, putting yourself in the position intellectually even. A psychopath can even do that. That's how they manipulate us. They go, okay, if I was this idiot, you know, oh, look, I'd be a weakling. I could be manipulated easy. I'd be, you know, I'd screw myself 10 billion ways. Oh, I need hope. See those people? All they do is observe behaviors and intellectually put themselves in our shoes. That's how they manipulate us. They observe. That's why they do experiments out the ass. Experiments is observation. So we can at least do that, even if we are afraid of emotions or if we can't handle the emotions. Personally, I believe in emotions, and I believe in the emotion of passion or the energy of passion. But to have passion, you require conviction. You require a sense of meaning. If you've given up your sense of meaning, please stop talking to other people because you're poisoning them. Do you want them to? Of course you do. Misery loves company. You know, it doesn't matter. I mean, for every person who's fucked up out there, whoever it is, there's always somebody who's even more fucked up. Okay, who's suffering even more. So don't play the game of I'm the worst case scenario or oh, poor, pitiful me or whatever. Forget it. Because this is how we're getting screwed. Screaming while you're being screwed isn't going to stop the screwing. Becoming stronger is. And it's a challenge. And it hurts and whatever. And nobody sees. I believe we often mistake somebody telling the truth or whatever, advice or an opinion or a path will take us to the other side. The map is not the territory. Advice and opinion or even conviction of another person is not our vehicle of salvation. We are our vehicle of salvation. It's not going to be easy. That's what I believe. That's what, at least what I'm applying, because I cannot put up in myself with the sense of giving up. And if I do ever give up, I'm not, well, there's going to be no other choice. I'm not going to hate myself for it. I'm not going to destroy my soul just because, it was too much for me. It doesn't matter what anybody says, If I am a being that thrives on meaning, then there must be meaning upon which to thrive. I mean, if I have a sense, if you need a God, there must be something that reflects that. If I have eyes, then there must be something to see. If I have ears, there must be something to hear. We can't say that there is no light. What are my eyes then for? They do react to something. Why do I have a heart? It's there for a reason. It's not just, if the world was completely terrible, the hearts would be unsustainable. They seem to be, but they wouldn't even, the heart to actually become a manifest thing out of nothing or out of I don't know what created it. Something created it. And sadists do not create hearts to torture, because you can't, if you have a divine psycho, let's take it religiously again. If you have a divine psychopath, they cannot create a heart, a soul, a pure thing. It's impossible. They can't even relate to it. Something else is going on here. To give simplistic information, whatever, of either or, something else is going on. So jumping to conclusions on the one hand is obviously not an option, but on the other hand, it's a journey to build your convictions, because your convictions are the way that you can become master of your own reaction. Problem, reaction, solution. Well, how about problem, forget about them. Problem, reaction, solution here. Solution comes from here. They're not the ones who are going to give me the solution. I'm the one who's going to give the solution. And I connect with other people to find mutual solutions. But it ain't going to be done where the data is mined and processed and used against me. It's going to be done in the real world, where you have physical connections with people, where you don't have software or hardware distinctions, where you have realware. Now, that's another viewpoint. Okay, parallax. You have software, hardware, data, digital, zeros, ones, this and that. Our reality is becoming just like our computer. High definition is getting more and more, so the image is getting more real than the real environment. Well, flip the image, flip the perspective. It doesn't matter how many pixels your damn screen has. What matters is your own sense of meaning. Does the image have greater meaning for you than what's going on outside? You're withdrawing from it. And you're withdrawing because something wants you to withdraw from it. It's not random. If things were random, then statistically speaking, you would have a really good shit going on as well as the really bad shit. But we don't. It's all like a calculated downhill. Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law is statistically improbable. Impossible even, because you can't have things always going wrong. Entropy only exists when there's no initiative. Entropy is like shall we say, the waste disposal plant of the universe. If you don't really care about anything, it's going to break down, turn to dust, and then it goes and we can build it back up again. Artificial entropy, the stimulation of entropy, the weaponization of entropy, that's a whole other story. So change your viewpoint, change your perspective. You don't have to make up new shit. All you have to do is be the artist and say, okay, this is how it looks from this end. Let me turn the other eye. Right brain, left brain. Let them work together. Again, this is just food for thought. I trust in the viewers, whoever, finds this interesting, to do the digesting of this food for thought, This isn't about, getting people to listen to my thing or whatever, I'm just talk because I have these ideas. And sometimes I find it challenging to go even deeper so I can express things that I don't see expressed anywhere else that much. but I can't shove shit down people's throats, and I can't adopt a holier than thou attitude. I don't believe in that crap, but it does frustrate me when I see psychological neediness clashing with more psychological neediness and the need to make money and all of this stuff that we all have. So you're either criticized for wanting to make money, or else you sneak out and you're pushing it and going, well, I'm just, and it's like, well, don't pretend to be helpful then, because the situation is such that true helpfulness on the internet is always sabotaged. So we need to change our viewpoint. We need to get clever. We are clever. Human beings are always clever. If the psychopath without a heart can be clever, the person with a heart can be much, much more creatively clever, because they have a whole dimension of feeling. They're just fucked up. We are fucked up. We hurt, obviously. Well, let's get creative. Can we get creative? Okay, I'm depressed. So chances are that it's not just a spiritual reason why I'm depressed. Chances are there's a physical reason, my diet. Chances are, there's my sleeping habit. Chances are this and that. And it's not just that. There's other things. So we can be multidimensional. We can be, let's look at the spiritual stuff. We don't have to become tinfoil hatters for it. Let's keep the science. We don't have to mix them into some grand unified theory of truth as one thing because it's simpler that way. Let it be like the Cartesian axis. You have Cartesian axes, right? Basically, it's an axis in this direction, a perpendicular axis in this direction, 90 degrees, and one axis that goes up. These are the three dimensions of three-dimensional space. This way, front, back, top, down. They don't blend into one line. Then it would become one-dimensional. They don't crush into one point. To keep them three-dimensional, they need to maintain their positionings as separate dimensions that become a whole that's greater than its parts. That's one way of looking at it. Parallax. There you go. So parallax is actually, and if you have multiple viewpoints also, if you can view things from multiple angles, your viewpoint, the other person, then there isn't racism or that. You have much more realistic. Then you go, look, why am I fighting with this person? What's going on? Yeah, they're pissing me off and all that. Maybe they want to fight, and I'll withdraw. He's just a person, or she's just a person who wants to fight. It has nothing to do with race, gender, whatever, and I'm cool with that. If they don't believe me, tough shit, And yes, there is racism, sexism, this and that and the other, but just because somebody happens to, have the same pigmentation as I do doesn't put me in the same category. I speak English, but I speak Greek, but does that mean that the Greek rapist outside is my brother? I'm not responsible for them, but I am responsible for the reality around me and how it affects other people. And my responses, I'm responsible for my responses. So let's cut the problem, reaction, solution thing with the mysteries of existential parallax. Thank you very much for listening to my long drawn-out ramble. Sorry for the delay today, Ron. And so next time we're more synchronized. And that's it. Okay.
Thank you, Aristo.
Thank you.
I guess namaste. It's as we.
Well, for some, namaste, but I'll respect the atheists and just say thank you. Those who believe we are one, but we are also many. So there are many viewpoints to that. But I do respect.
Okay.